Hello dear students, I am again here with a very important video. So in this one I am going to cover real IELTS exam reading passage, and this passage is from 23rd August IELTS examination. In this passage there were 4 questions for list of people, 4 for MCQ and 5 for true false not given. So in total there were 13 questions. So the very first not the very first question basically. So firstly we will understand the name of the topic. So it is sweet trouble, problems in Australian sugar industry. So this passage will talk about problems in the Australian sugar industry. So let's get going and let's analyze what the type of questions are, and then we'll analyze which ones to do first and which ones to do later. So this starts with the list of people, and then there are few multiple choice questions, and then there are true false not given. So there are 3 types of questions. So you must be aware that which type of question should I attempt first, because in this reading if you will start working on list of people first, you will have a hard time solving this reading, and then you will assume that the level of the examination is quite difficult and I'm not able to do. You might panic, and you may say that I would have to sit for the exam the next time. Maybe some kind of thoughts will start running all around in your mind. So be very careful that whenever in a reading passage there is a question type list of people, so never just start with question number 1. A very important tip. So the sequence according to which you solve your answers in reading plays a crucial role. I mean, it's really significant for you to understand which type of questions to attempt first and how to attempt those. So in this one, as there is a type list of people, so we will not start with question 1. Why? Like, what's the reason? Because these people names are scattered throughout the passage. So if we'll start reading like from the first passage, we won't get any of these names. Maybe we can get just one name, and then we'll keep on reading the passage, and then in the second last or the last passage we'll get to know that there are 2 more names. So never do this, never. So we will start with the next type of questions, which is multiple choice questions and true false not given. But as we read, we'll just keep on circling these names, so that in the end when we solve a list of people questions, we would not have to read the entire passage again. So we will just go to the location, match the question, and then we should be all good with the answer. So first of all, we'll start with multiple choice questions. So multiple choice questions are considered difficult because there are 4 options and there is a list of people and then true false. So this passage was difficult, and this was asked in 23rd exam August real IELTS academic examination. So let's start with the 5th question. So in the first passage, the writer says that the town is holding its breath. So there is a phrase which called holding its breath. So why he is saying so? So here, the tip which I gave you in one of the last videos is that whenever there is a multiple choice question, you'll just read the question statement, understand the meaning, and then you won't look at the options. No, if you will look at the questions and then you will go to the location, then probably you won't be able to get the answer correct. So just read the question, go to the location, and then try to eliminate. So this sequence is very important. Read the question and then location and then elimination, and then you'll be getting your correct answer. So this sequence is very important. In the first passage, the writer says that the town is holding its breath because, okay, so we have this question in our mind. So let's start reading the passage. So we know that the location is in the first paragraph itself. Okay. The Australian town of Mossman in the state of Queensland sits in the tropical landscape between the rainforest and the Great Barrier Reef. Ecosystem is important here. There are more than 80 degrees. Okay, so reading these ones and understanding these ones, it's very important, because if you are able to understand the first passage, that means you will be analyzing, you will be able to understand that what the passage talks about. So utilize this time and understand the meaning. Ecotourism is important there. More than 80% of Douglas Shire, of which Monsoon is the administrative center, is protected by World Heritage listing, but for most of the town's history, forest and reef have been largely irrelevant. Since the sugar mill was built in 1894, the town has relied on sugarcane. Now Mossman is holding its breath. Okay, so here is our location. So the writer says that it's holding its breath. So what does that mean? So understand this. But for most of the town's history, forest and reef have been largely irrelevant. Since the sugar mill was built in 1894, the town has relied on sugarcane. Okay. So since 1894, the town is, the town used to rely on sugarcane, and heavily. The town has relied heavily on sugarcane. Okay. But now what's happening? Now Mossman is holding its breath. That means the sugar mill was there. It started in 1894, and since then the town was relying on sugarcane. But now it's holding its breath. For example, if there is someone or there is something you are relying upon, and out of a sudden that thing is no longer with you, that means you are holding your breath. So you won't be able to live without that thing. So this holding its breath is for the word Mossman, and Mossman seems to be a place. So Mossman is holding its breath because sugar mill maybe it's getting closed or something. For 2 years, the mill used by all the farm has been close to bankruptcy. Yes, that's why. This is the point. So it's getting bankrupt. It is at the center of the economic shocks that have shaken. So this bankruptcy has shaken Australians' sugarcane industry, and for lifetime farmers and long list of cane workers, a way of life will disappear if the mill closes. So they talk about the factor where mill is going to close. That's why Mossman is holding its breath. Okay, so we are able to understand the meaning and then see the magic happening. Now we'll eliminate it very, very easily. So in the first paragraph, the writer says that the town Mossman is holding its breath because it has environmental problems. No, he's not talking anything about environmental problems. Its tourism business is threatened. Not talking anything about tourism, right? Most of its people have left the town. No. So they are not talking that they have already left. Might be this is the result of this bankruptcy, this shutting down of the mill, that yes, people may leave, but it has not happened yet. A key processing plant may shut down. Yes, because they are talking about bankruptcy of that mill, sugar mill, which started in 1894 something. So yes, so they are talking about this thing. So see, very easily we have eliminated everything. So this is the correct answer. Second one. According to the writer, cane growers who refuse the government offer are expected to. Okay, cane growers. So will not read the answers. According to the writer, cane growers who refuse the government. Cane growers might have refused the government's offer. Are expected to. Okay, so what if they have refused the government's offer? Then what they are expected to. Okay, all right. So we will start reading the next one. And we'll just skim it and we'll find the word cane growers. Okay, not talking anything about cane growers. Sugar resulting in 25-year low average price for Australian sugar. although figures may vary widely across farms, regions, that was about his question, to forestall social and economic disaster, the government offered, yes, so here they talk about government's offer. The government offered more than $400 million to encourage growers to leave the industry. By the end of the year, 21 farmers had taken up the offer. Okay, so they were willing that they will leave the industry, but here is the answer. So this but is very important in your academic and general training reading, because the answer is always, here after the word but another 1,000 are sought to be seriously considering it. Okay, so the 21 farmers are like, yes, so we'll just accept this offer and we'll leave the industry. But the 1,000 are seriously considering it. I mean, they have not decided whether they will be leaving or not. Allowing, because they are not leaving it yet, so because of this, allowing these remaining to buy the vacated land and improve their economies of scale. Okay, that means, so what's happening, so we'll understand the meaning of this these 4 lines. So basically what was happening, that government was giving offers to the people working there that you just leave the industry. Maybe there is some kind of financial benefit to the government. So when they offered this one, so 21 farmers were already willing that yes, we will leave, but 1,000 were considering it seriously, that they didn't want to leave it, and it was like, we won't leave, and they were looking forward to buy the vacated land. So the land vacated by these 21. So these 1,000 were looking forward to buy the vacated land and improve their economies of scale. Okay. All right. So now we are able to understand the meaning, and then we will go to the question and see the magic happening. You will be able to eliminate everything, and you will be, with your answer. According to the writer, cane grower who refused the government offer are expected to understand, expand their farms, yes, this seems to be the answer, but let's eliminate. Sell their land at a low price, no, they were like, we won't leave, and they were rather considering that they want to expand their land. That's why they were looking forward to buy the vacated land. That's why they wanted to expand their land, not sell their land. Find jobs in other industries, no, jobs, no, they're not talking anything about jobs. Seek financial help from banks, no, not at all. So they were just, they just wanted to expand their farms. That's why they didn't want to leave. So the answer is straightforward. All right, now let's read question number 7. Which of the following did Bill Philip Turner find most difficult to do? Okay, Bill Philip. So this is the name of the person. Maybe in this paragraph itself, we'll be able to find one of the answers to those 4 questions, initial 4 questions. We'll keep that thing in mind along with this question. Which of the following did Bill Philip find most difficult to do? Okay, so we'll not read the questions. So we just understand that what was the thing that Bill Philip Turner find most difficult to do. All right. So Bill Philip, yes. So here is Bill Philip. So we'll just skim it. Bill Philip is one who plans to fight on. The consequences of losing the mill would be catastrophic, Bill says. Sugar has a big economic multiplier effect for every dollar generated from sugar. An additional $7 is generated in the wider economy. Because of limited options around here, most people now employed by the industry would have to leave the area to find work. Okay, so he's just talking something about the situation which might happen if this mill closes. But till now there is nothing being talked about the difficult thing. Okay, maybe in next few lines. The farmer shareholders have so far saved the millie by accepting substantial cuts to cane payments, but this has come at the big cost to everyone. As chairman of the Bill Board of Mill, Bill has presided over some tough, so yes, seems to be here because tough means difficult. So our question is related to the word difficult. and they're talking about Bill. Bill has presided over some tough and unpopular decisions. The hardest, here we go, so the location is here. The hardest was, so Bill has presided over some tough and unpopular decisions. So he has already taken some decisions, some tough and unpopular decisions, but the hardest was, so here is the location. Which was the hardest decision? The hardest was slashing the mill workforce. Slashing the mill workforce, maybe laying them off or something like that. Okay, so we are able to understand this one. And now see the magic happening again. Which of the following did Bill Turner find most difficult to do? Sell mill property. So no, he's not going to sell or buy anything. Reduced spending on upkeep. No, so he's not talking about spending, but he's like the most difficult was thing was related to workers working there. Slashing the workforce. Slashing means maybe laying them off or something like that. So reducing spending, no. Mill workers, lower mill workers wages, cut the number of mill staff. Slashing means cutting down. So he's not talking about wages. He's not talking about wages. He's talking about people working there. He's talking about slashing the workforce means reducing the number of workers. So here reducing means cut, reducing cut means slashing the number of mill staff. So answer is straightforward D. All right, so next one, Bill Philip Turner. Okay, so we will just circle it so that we are able to find few of our answers. Bill. Okay, so we'll come back to this one. Cane grower, Duke Crease. Okay, so this is also related to word, so we'll just circle it, and along with this answer we will also find those 1 to 4 answers. So okay, so we'll just understand, we'll keep on reading, and wherever dog crease come, we will stop. We will find answer to question number 8 and question number 1 to 4. But as of now, we are done with multiple choice questions, and now let's move over towards the true false not given along with that. So this passage was difficult because it was not like you have to solve it in the sequence and you will be able to find the location in a sequence. No, you had to solve this passage in a very smartly, like understanding which question to do first and then how many questions to do simultaneously or something like that. So true false not given. In 2004, the cost of producing sugar in Australia was similar to the selling price. All right, so understand this one. In 2004, the cost of producing sugar in Australia was similar to, okay, so they're talking about cost price and selling price. Don't just jump to the location. Understand that when this is going to be true, when this is going to be false, and when this is going to be not given. So the question is, 2004, the cost of producing sugar in Australia was similar. Okay, so if the cost price was similar to selling price, then the answer is true. If the cost price was not similar, or maybe more or less, so there is a word like more or less, then it is false. If they're not comparing anything or not equalizing anything, then it's going to be not given. All right, so cost of producing sugar. So in 2004, the cost of producing sugar in Australia was similar to the selling price. All right, so let's see. All right, so here is the location. Let's read and understand. The 10-year average return to sugar growth throughout the 1990s was about $350 a ton. In early 2004, sugar prices plummeted, resulting in a 25-year low average price of about $232 a ton. Although, okay, so they are talking about like how much they were getting per ton. So it was $350 in 1990, but 323 here. Okay. Although is also very important in your academic and general training reading. because many students are unaware of the exact meaning of this word, the contrasting connectors such as although, but, however, but there are a lot of answers with these words. So although figures vary widely across farms and regions, that was about what it cost to grow a ton of sugar in Australia. Okay, so they are like now this is the selling price. Selling price in 1990 was 350. Selling price in 2004 or something, I mean near here, is 232. And now in although sentence they are talking about the cost price. Although figures vary widely across farms and regions, that was about what it costs to grow a ton of sugar. That means growing a ton of sugar costs the same as this, because that was about means this thing. That means referencing the thing which we are talking here in the previous line. So this means this 323 is about the same what it costs to grow a ton of sugar. That means the cost price and the selling price is same. That means the answer to the ninth one is definitely true. Farmers who accepted the government offer have mostly moved to the cities. Here important word is mostly. If they will say that yes they have moved and mostly they have moved, mostly word is very important, then it's true. If they will like not mostly but like very few have moved, then it's opposite, then it's false. But if they are not talking anything about mostly or any thing throughout the sentence, then it's going to be not given. All right, let's read. Okay. To forestall social and economic disaster, the government offered more than $400 million to encourage growers to leave the industry. Okay, so here is the location for the question number 10th. The government offered more than 400 million to encourage growers to leave the industry by the end of the year. 21 farmers took that, but 1,000 were not willing, right? So the government, yes, so the government offered this million so that they can encourage the government officials can encourage the growers to leave the industry. But the question says farmers who accepted the government have moved to the cities. Even if the word mostly was not there, still it is going to be not given, because they have not yet moved. They have just government has just given them the offer. They have not just moved, so it's going to be not given. But now the word is mostly, so it's very clearly written so that nothing is being talked about mostly, that out of 100 like 90 or 80 have already moved. No, so it's not given. Fuel production is regarded, okay, simultaneously we will take this into consideration, do Greek. So in this paragraph, so there is nothing being talked, but further if there will be anything, we will stop and find the answer to the question number 8 and 1 to 4. So 11th, fuel production is regarded as the most, and here it's the word most. So these words are very, very important. If you are able to understand the concept behind these ones, then all the questions in your reading will be correct and 100% correct. Fuel production is regarded as the most desirable alternative business for the sugar. If it is the most desirable alternative, then it is true. If it is not the most desirable but something else is most desirable, then it's false. If they're not talking anything about desirable alternative or something like that, then it is not given. All right, so let's see. Hmm. 11th. Okay, so we'll just skim, and we'll have to find the alternative thing. So here he was talking about hardest. Let's find the location. Assets were sold and maintenance was cut. The board has also worked hard to find, yes, so here is the answer. find new ways of doing business, because the question is asking that now they will be shutting down the sugar mill. So in place of sugar mill, which business will they open? If they will open fuel production and it's most desirable, then it's true. If instead of sugar mill, by closing the sugar mill, if they are opening some other business which is most desirable, then it's false. So let's find the name of the business which is going to replace the sugar mill. So they're finding new ways to do the business. That means they are going to replace sugar mill with something other. Ethanol production. These these sentences in commas are just to confuse you. So just eliminate the extra information. So learn how to eliminate the extra information if you want to get a good band score. So I'll read. So I'll not read these ones. I will read these ones in my mind to see if there is some answer hidden. But if it's not, then I will just skip these. Ethanol production using cane waste to generate electric power is another possibility. Yes. So students, what will they do? They will just see that ethanol production where sugar is used to produce fuel. Yes, so the word is fuel production. So it's matching. Fuel production has potential is another possibility. So they will just put it as true. But why it's not true? Because they are talking about fuel production, and they are also talking that they will replace the mill with the fuel production, but they are saying that it is the possibility. They are yet not saying that it's the most desirable. They are just saying that fuel production is a possibility, but they are not saying that it's most desirable. So we are not able to get answer here. Now the magical word however, and although, but these words are magical in your reading because the answer is always hidden in this line. However, the most radical. Now here comes the answer. Most radical but preferred alternative is to create a future for the mill as a food factory. So they are saying that yes, fuel production is good. It can be a possibility, but the most radical but preferred. It will require a lot of innovations, but it's preferred. This could be the answer, but what is being preferred is setting mill as a food factory instead of fuel production. So they are saying that the most desirable alternative is fuel production. No, the most desirable is setting the mill as a food factory. So the answer is false. Tom Waters reduced his use of pesticides. Okay, so now Tom Waters and then Tom Waters. And now, okay, so now we are left with only names. So we have to find the name of dog Chris, 1 question, Tom Waters 2 questions, and then there were 4 questions related to that. So Bill is being talked about here, but we have to find answers related to dog Chris and Tom Waters. So we'll just skim it if we can find any of these names. Yes, here's the Mike, but the answer, but 8 and 12, 13 are not talking about Mike, but maybe those 4 questions are related to Mike, yes. So maybe here's the answer. Okay, so we'll be very careful here. So Douglas Shire Mayor Bike is a well-known environmentalist and might, after the next one, and might be expected to be anti-cane. So Mike says that there is no question of the past damage it's done to the reef through chemical and nutrient runoff. He says, but there is a formula for sustainable cane production, and Mawson has nearly reached it. Okay, so here they are talking about Bill, right? Bill. Okay, so yes, Bill. So there is a word Mawson. Okay, so maybe the answer is this. Let me firstly understand it properly. So what do they say? So Bill Turner is expected. There is no. So what does he say? He says this thing. He says there's no question of the past damage it's done to the reef through chemical and nutrient runoff, but there's a formula for sustainable cane production. So he says that the cane production can be done with a sustainable method. Sustainable means environment friendly method, and Mossman has nearly reached it. So yes, there we go. So okay, what are they saying? Yes, let's match. So Bill says that Mawson cane farming practices are close to environmentally friendly model. Close to, and here they are saying that Mawson has nearly reached it. So who is saying that? Bill. So the answer to A, first one is A. Second, financial return. Okay, so we'll just bear these in mind, that if we are able to find some kind of sentence related to these ones. Financial return is not the only factor. Cane sugar may not harm the environment as other crops. So comparison, local population. Okay, so the decline of the local population. Okay, so we'll be reading the next ones, next sentences, and these ones are in my mind if I'm able to find anything. Along with that, question number 12 and 13, Tom Waters and all that stuff is also in my mind. All right. So let's see, another surprise endorsement. So now we are going to just look at the names and then stop. Another surprise endorsement for cane comes from the Karen Ben. Okay, so yes, Karen Ben is also 1 out of 4. Karen Ben, C. So this can be the answer to one of those 4 questions. So what does she say? I am less worried about the effect of cane on the environment than I am about other agriculture, she says. So she is comparing. So we had one question related to comparison in that list of people. So Karen Ben says, I am less worried about the effect of cane. So she says that I'm less worried that what kind of environmental effect cane would be having, but I'm more worried about other agriculture. So she's comparing the impact of cane and other agriculture on environment. Okay, so let's see. So financial return is not no. Cane sugar may not harm the. Yes, here cane sugar may not harm the environment as much as other crops. Yes, so she says that I'm not worried about cane sugar's impact on the environment, but other crops. She says other agriculture. So who is saying so? C. So Karen, C. All right, and now we'll find some other words, but still we are not able to find dog, crease, or Tom Waters, but maybe next. So we'll just skim it. Hurry up. There are good growers, but Muslim seem to have taken up the challenge. For example, sediments run off. Previously, one of the main problems caused by cane growing is nothing like it was once, according to Dr. Brian Roberts, coordinator of this. Used to hold the record for. Okay. Yes, so there is another name, Robert Bryan. So we have Robert Bryan, but that location is not talking about any of these ones. Sorry, so answer was this. Not talking anything about financial return or local population, so we'll just skip Dr. Bryan. Let's read the next one. However, these improvements have been achieved at a greater cost. Now, Tom Waters. Okay, here we go. So we had to solve 2 questions on Tom Waters, 12 and 13, and even one can be the answer to second or 4. So we'll be careful. So 2 questions related to Tom Water were Tom Water reduced his use of pesticide. Okay, one question is related to pesticide and another one is environmentally friendly farming practices have been profitable. Okay. Tom Water has spent his entire life on the same. 14 years ago, he was alerted to the effect of his cane could be having on this. The narrow waterway that receives all his runoff, and so Tom planted this buffer along the edge, built up the edge of the creek with rocks to prevent erosion, and began exploring farming methods that cause minimal soil disturbance. However, none of these costly initiative has. Okay, so basically what he was doing is Tom Waters spent his entire life on the same farm, and he, planted these many trees. He built up the edges of the creek with rocks to prevent soil erosion. He began exploring farming methods that caused, minimal soil disturbance. So he practiced, he thought of all these things. 1, 2, 3. However, the magical word answer will definitely be here. Let's see. However, none of these means none of these costly initiative has helped him get better cane prices. Okay, another cane. Okay, so here's the duck grease. So duck grease is question 8, so we'll come back to this later, but before that we'll answer these questions. Tom Water reduced his use of pesticides. Okay, so here they are not saying that he has reduced his practice of pesticide, but they're talking about other things which can help the environment, but they're not talking anything about pesticides, that he reduced his use of pesticides. So not given. Environmentally friendly practices have been profitable. Again, there was the question. Yes, however, none of these costly initiatives has helped him get better cane prices. So he thought of all these things, but none helped him get better cane prices. That means none was profitable for him. So here is environmentally friendly farming practices which he was practicing. I mean, all these three were profitable. No, so they are like none helped him. That means it's false. So we're able to do all these ones. Now duck grease, so we're left with only this one and one question number 2nd and 4th, but duck grease we'll be able to find here. Duck grease comments that economically it doesn't make much sense, but there's more life to than money. Okay, duck grease was also one question in this one, maybe. Duck grease. Okay, financial return is not the only important factor for cane growers. Okay, so the location is here. Another cane grower, duck grease, comments that economically it doesn't make much sense, but there's more. Here is the answer after the word but, the magical word, but there is more to life than money. So they were like, it's not money is not the only thing, there is a lot more than money. But here financial return is not the only. Yes, so he's also saying that money is not the only factor, so there is a lot more than money in this life. So here is saying financial return is not the only important factor. Yes, so who is saying so? Duck grease. So answer to 2nd is F. And question number 8 will also be able to find here. Question number 8 was this one. Cane grower duck grease says what he wants to do. Okay, in this edition, duck grease. Okay, in this addition to the way of life that keeps many cane growers growing and underground, it's a good lifestyle. He says, what does he say? He says, I spent 8 months working on the farm and 4 months looking after our kids while my wife works in town. I have been looking at alternative crops like this, and it turns out that working away from the farm is the best diversification we could do. However, I still don't want to do. So he says that these are the things which are best. However, I still don't want to do that. What he doesn't want to do that. I have been looking at the alternative crops, and it turns out that working away from the farm. So he says that if I work away from the farm, then it's best for me. However, even if it's best, however is a magical word. Answer is always after however, although, but. However, I still don't want to do. So he says that staying away from farm is good, but I don't want to do. So answer to question number 8. Duck grease says he would prefer to grow in cocoa. No. Wants to remain on the farm. Yes. So he was like, going away from the farm is best diversification, but I don't want to do. So answer is this one. Wants his family to live together. No. Will look part-time work in town? No. So the answer is this one. So we are only left with the fourth question. The local population would decline if the sugar processing plant closed. So who's saying that the local population would decline if the sugar processing plant closed? All right. So, so we are left with this one only. So we have to just skim it again if we are able to find something. So just skim it. Maybe something here. Here they were talking about that they would have to move, right? So maybe in this one, let's read. Fourth generation, this is one who plans to fight on the consequence of losing milk because this. Sugar has a big economic multiplier. And because of limited options around here, yes, here's the answer. Because of limited options around here, most people now employed by industry would have to leave the area to find work. Okay, so here is the answer to fourth. The local population would decline. Yes, they would have to move to the city if the sugar processing plant closed. And here he says that they would have to leave the area to find work. So who is saying so? Bill Philip Turner. So the answer is A. Alright, so we are able to solve all these ones. So this was a difficult passage asked in 23rd August exam. So you should practice such kind of passages so that if you do, only then you will be able to achieve a good band score. Otherwise you will panic and yes, you won't be able to achieve your desired band score. So this is Sweet Trouble, 23rd August, and it was a difficult passage. So if you want to practice more such difficult passage, if you want to have access to all the passages, real exam passages, which you should definitely be practicing, then subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and also like, comment. So all right, so this was all for today, and see you tomorrow. Bye.